What's one piece of career advice you wish someone gave you when you were first starting out in the games industry?
So one of the things that's turned into the first thing I say to anyone, is that your relationships between people and the people you work with are some of the most important things in what you do, and that the people skills you need are, in my opinion, the most important to start work on early,
Mm.
because especially in the games industry, everything's collaborative. You have to get good at working with people because you're always going to be doing it. Your technology will change, the games will change, markets, all of these, but it's always going to be people. And that was, and when I look back in the early days of my career of what I wasn't really sure what I was doing, um, it's the people skills improving that have improved kind of my enjoyment of my career. And so I think that's the that's the first one that comes to mind.
Alrighty. So the follow up on that is, how did you improve your people skills?
Yeah, there's loads of things. So there were there were a lot of tips that kind of came to me through some of the research we would be doing, particularly joining in production stuff at Creative Assembly. So we would often do lunchtime videos where we watch a GDC talk or similar, and just to keep ideas coming into the department. It's a really good thing, and I recommend anyone to do it. And there's one that really caught my attention, and it was a talk by Jesse Shell from Shell Games, and I think it was called "You Can Do It," the like studio leadership or leading a game studio. And there was the whole talk is really good because it's all about um, you wanting to start a studio, and then kind of taking on the job of what your project is the people. It's not the game. You've handed that over. You do the people in the place. But in particular, active listening. He brought this up and talked about how this should really be something people look into more. And so I did. I followed up. He recommended a platform called Seven Cups of Tea, which I don't know if it's doing much now. It was an idea of it was kind of like a helpline for people who just needed a voice to listen to, and someone to be a good listener, not qualified therapists or anything. But what was good was they have just an online video course in what active listening is. And so going through that was so useful because it changed the way I listened to people in conversation. I wasn't just waiting to fix the thing or waiting to interject. It turned listening into how to keep the other person talking, and how to keep them exploring their thought, or how to keep them exploring their problem. And so little things like uh just like some of the obvious ones, like, yep, I'm listening. Cool, keep going. And then listening for when something that might be an aside and something they say. Um, so I remember actually this came up in another management training that we did another time, where we were looking at similar things and how to. I think it was a bit of practice in one-to-ones, and we were kind of observing each other to kind of offer feedback on how this worked. And one of them was talking about one of them. They were in QA and they were talking about struggles they would have, how these were challenging times, these were difficult, and there was a lot of focus on the issues. And then at one point, he said, "Yeah, actually, this stuff was really fun." And then my partner who was talking about it was going back into the problems. And afterwards, I said, "There was an opportunity for something there. Like that was another thread that could have educated something new. That was the positive." And so, like, hang on, let's stop on that. What did you enjoy? Tell me more about this part of the job you're enjoying, because that's clearly the goal. And how can we attend to the problems in a way that move towards the part you're liking? And so a lot of this was learning to listen, and in turn, like kind of practicing giving other people space. Because the things I would do wrong early on is I would be trying I'd be more about my ideas. I'd be like, no, this is how we should do things. Like, no, like, this is how we should run this. In fact, I did get some feedback at one point, which this happens a lot. I get feedback from someone, and I'm really stubborn about it at the beginning, and then a year or two later, I think about it. I think, oh, they were right. I need to pay attention to this. And it was one of the producers, like he was a lead for me at the time, in a one-to-one session, saying, you sometimes just say no. And it's in quite an unhelpful way. And at the time, I was like, I, I don't know what to do with that. Like, it's like you asked me for something that we can't do. And then later on in my career, kind of I thought back to that and thought I finally understood what he was saying. Was he would be asking me to do something, and I would be saying no, which would stop the conversation. And whereas what I wasn't doing was observing the need, observing like why did he come to me for something in the first place? Why did he ask for this? Because he may have suggested a solution that wouldn't work, which is why I'm saying no. But the next, what I can do next is think that won't work. But how do we get you what you need? And how do we keep both of us moving forward? And so that was a very direct lesson, and that's one I'd like to be able to share. Is like, no, stops the conversation, and no, but we can try this. Keep people moving forward.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your career that's made a significant impact and the learnings you got from it?
I think the biggest change in my career was going into production at all, because my this was a one dream kind of had to die for the other one to find itself. So my initial dream when coming like through university and then up into the games industry was to be a sound designer, composer in video games, etc. And so that was, and I did lots of this at game jams, so lots of small games, some side projects while I was a game tester at Microsoft. And then during Creative Assembly, while I was audio QA, so really close to audio, and I'm still very passionate about audio quality and the power of it in video games. But we had an internal role go up for a junior sound designer, and a load of us applied internally and built like a so it was either building portfolios or like grabbing a piece to share with them. And I didn't even get an interview, and I got I got feedback, and then I also because it was the other audio QA I was working with, that was the competition. We could all talk about what we were doing, and it was actually very clear and it's kind of uncontroversial as to why I didn't get an interview. It was because the quality of the work I was making, it actually just wasn't good enough. There wasn't enough focus or I think even competence on
Oh, dear.
making high quality stuff. But it was very educational actually because it kind of showed me where I was in the context of people who really do the job. Um, and so like I like sound, and so it's fun. I love the language of it. I love the kind of way it works in games and thing, but I don't live it in the way that real sound designers do, to the point of their habits are all about improving the sound, not just making more, but learning like browsing plugins and tinkering with microphones and all of this. And actually, this just wasn't the life I was living. And so while I like sound design, they lived it. And so that was very clear. But fortunately, I was discovering something else at the same time. So this was Alien Isolation, late 2013, where I was these other sound audio QA I mentioned. At the time, I'd been managing them, and it was my first real management job. And I'd kind of found that was where my management style started very early on, realizing that the three guys I was managing, it took a few months of friction until I realized the way management's supposed to work, was they were they were super smart guys. They did not need my guidance of how to do the job. All they needed from me was clarity on the path forward and protection from the nonsense going on around them in the rest of the project. They just needed a clear path with no obstacles to go well. And I had found myself enjoying that. And so while the sound design dream had kind of fallen down, which was quite a blow, this was several years of hopes, realizing, this isn't what I thought it was. But I had been thinking that I am actually enjoying this thing of organizing other people. And I found that it's something I would do in my own time. And so like at Microsoft, I would always organize badminton things, or I would organize little music events or band stuff with people sometimes. And it occurred to me, wait, maybe I don't live the sound design, but I do live this organization thing. And this made me think of, we had a junior production role or associate production role coming up on that team as well. And so I was thinking, actually, maybe this is a good direction to take the skills that I just work on in my day-to-day life. And so that was what I did. That was the application in, and I was successful. And that's where I feel my career really started. It's exactly where my production career started. But it was the end of a kind of a career in waiting, because all the time I was a game tester, I was really thinking, right, I think, yeah, all the time I was a QA tester, I was thinking, right, I know this is until I become a sound designer, or until I find that audio break. Um, and what was nice now was that, okay, no more until, this is the career. One track, not a background distraction. Let's just get better at this and go further and take this as far as I can and see where it goes. That that was a very career defining moment for me.
I feel like a career is so long, and when you mentioned that you were having kind of a career in waiting, I'd argue that not necessarily a side quest, but like the experience of being QA tester and then the sound design work, I'm 100% because I've seen it and hanged out with you. It comes very handy in your production career. Like these being in the trenches and being able to have those conversations. So that's an important thing for people to remember. Like if you feel like where you are right now isn't where you're going to be forever, you don't know how long your career is going to be and you don't know where you're going to be. So the lessons that you're learning now, you actually don't even know how they're going to fit into your future kind of experience. And I feel like that was a very good example there of how having that side quest, once you move
Yeah.
into production, you've actually the production field where you actually feel home. I'm sure all of that has come into play.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree in that, just because my direction changed, it didn't invalidate any of the experience I had before. Because this is the same for anyone going into production. You can go in without going through QA, but there is so much you learn in QA, which really does give you a clear
Mm.
view of production, and it helps you really understand the QA tester, the team, and the needs, and interfacing with them is such a big responsibility. And even all the time I spent in audio was, aside from sound experience, it was also design experience, especially all the game jams I did and everything else I helped with, because it was all about communication, and in a way that it connects to the aesthetic of the game. It is an area, and I even did end up creating a talk which I gave at Falmouth one year. So much of it was about how sound is relevant to game designers and how it is a tool that is so wide open for you and is so powerful. But all of that experience, every now and then, some other part of it will come up in something I'm doing. And actually, on the side quest thing, I do have. It's not that I don't have any side quests now. Like every now and then, I'm looking for as many opportunities as I can for knowledge sharing. I still do the accessibility advocacy I can, and so the kind of but the path is broadening. It does the difference between then and now is right now I feel like I'm doing more with the side quests, whereas back then it felt like I was waiting for something, and it's nice for the wait to be over.
So, how do you approach challenges and setbacks in your professional life, and what's your go-to strategy for overcoming them?
Challenges and setbacks. So there's a lot there's a lot of taking a deep breath and having to try and make sure I'm not taking things personally, because it is a thing I can accidentally do. Like things going
Like
wrong
all of
or
us.
something yeah, something going wrong on a project can easily feel like, if it went wrong, it means you're bad at your job. And it's not as simple as that. Yeah. But one of the main things I actually do in just trying to. It's about, and it plays into avoiding challenges, or not so much avoiding challenges as in preventing problems, but also allowing me to be helped and supported in challenges. Is try and be as transparent with everything I do about what I'm doing. So, for example, let's say I'm running into a problem where I don't know how to I don't know how to handle the difficult employee in a certain case, or I am struggling with a piece of software. The best tactic I've got now is being transparent that I am having a problem, and making that a regular habit. So ensuring that either my leads or my kind of leadership support network knows I'm having a problem and has the opportunity to help, or if it's a more technical thing, um, sharing that problem where technical people can see it, because what can be afternoons or days of angst for you might be one function someone else uses every day, and it could be just back of the hand. Oh, all you need to do is that, and your challenge is gone. But the things I had to get over in order to kind of get to this way of working was getting comfortable with the idea that I don't have to have all the answers, um, and getting comfortable with letting people help me, which did take some maturing into. It's very easy to I could be quite an independent-minded person as well, and get being helped can. I don't know if I'm not in a good state of mind. Like being helped can feel like failure, and
Mm.
so getting past that realization, getting past the idea that no, I help people, they help me. This is life, this is teamwork, this is fine, and it's normal, and all of us move forward. And this is this is a lot of how I try to handle challenges now. Don't face them alone. That's that's the simplest soundbite version I think I'd give of that.
When you're communicating to your lead and support network, like you have that problem, I feel like there's a good way and a bad way to do that. So I was wondering, like, how do you how do you raise your hand and say I have a problem? I guess without, because I'm just thinking right now, like without making it seem like you're being a failure. Or am I overthinking it now as well?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I think even if you raise it in a bad way or a way that's, I guess, from what I've seen of good ways and bad ways to raise a problem upwards is try not to make their day difficult by doing so.
Yeah.
And so, in particular, like, don't make it, don't make it a tantrum. Don't make it an emotional outcry of everything's messed up, everything sucks. Like that really is that really feels like someone else's work to deal with, and they're gonna less want to do it, and you're not gonna. It's gonna look like you don't have to be in control of the situation, but please try to be in control of yourself.
Hmm.
And the way I would advise, if you can, raising problems is think of it as asking for advice. So I am
Mm.
having a problem. Can you give me some advice? Because people like this. Honestly, everyone likes being able to feel like an expert. Everyone likes the feeling of being appealed to for their advice. It's empowering. It makes someone feel trusted. It makes someone feel competent in their own way, and it makes them they feel good that you have trusted them to show a bit of vulnerability somewhere that you aren't on top of, and then it's really good relationship sustaining as well. Like it looks like okay, this person isn't keeping secrets. This person isn't hiding. If something isn't going well, they're telling me, and I feel more relaxed knowing that the person will be transparent with me. So it's a very good part of managing upwards. But that is the if I was going to split good way and bad way of raising a problem, um, there is like bad is complaining, good is asking for advice in a simple way.
Mm.
And it's
That
a good
frame,
question. It's a good way to tackle it. It's a good one to think about. I hadn't thought about that before.
yeah, but yeah,
Hmm.
because you started the answer with I don't know, and then gave me that knowledge bomb there. Like the framing is so important because I feel Like I just pictured the two different ways of like the outcry with the crying emoji and like I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how I'm doing it, and then the other way say, hey, I have this issue, could you give me some advice? Because then you've opened the door, and then if they have the one function solution, then they can go and solve your problem. But you're not asking for that; you're asking for advice, and they could be giving you a few words that you're like, great, I can now fix it on its own. However, you've given them that opportunity to also solve your problem as well. So I think that framing is super useful.
Yeah, and also sometimes you'll find out that you're dealing with a problem that is actually one way above your pay grade, and two like you aren't supposed to be handling it. So sometimes that's when the leadership can say, "Oh, this is one for us. Thank you for telling us. Yeah, we'll get this taken care of." But yeah, it's
Perfect. And
another
what a
reason.
nice way for that to happen. Because you're
Mm.
showing your proactivity that you're solving something, and then they can then take that away from you. So it's like everybody's winning. And it all
Yeah.
started with raising your hand, right? And getting that idea out of your head that you are not a failure for speaking up. Save everyone so much time.
Yeah, and actually, I should say I didn't completely come up with this idea on my own. There is a TED Talk of mine which is one of my absolute favorites. I watch TED Talks from time to time, and there's a few that really stay with me. And there's one; it's quite a long title. I think it's called "Your Problem Isn't Your Bad Attitude; It's Your Isolation." And it's a woman
Mm,
talking about these groups she's led, which are all about you just sitting in a room with other people or being somewhere where one of it. It's like it'll come to you in a circle and say, "Cool, tell us something you're struggling with, or tell us something you want to reach." And they'll say uh, and then maybe and it could be anything from I want to I want to travel more but I can't have, and they'll say what's your obstacle, and then I don't know what to do with a cat, I don't know what to do with a house, blah blah blah. And then someone in the circle, because there's a group, the someone almost always has a solution for something. And it was the simple principle of like if you are sharing your problems, you can do that, and especially when you have a support network, um, like people, so often someone else will have a solution for the problem you're having. And I've watched that video. I recommend it, and I've really taken it to heart, and it's playing a lot into how I manage myself and I manage teams.